Hello, this is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and there's some breaking news pretty much. I mean, I guess this has maybe happened 30 minutes ago when this was posted, but Ronna McDaniel has won her fourth term as chair of the RNC. So we've talked about it quite a bit. Full disclosure, I used to work for Ronna, so I do know Ronna, but yesterday I covered Ron DeSantis came out in support of Dylan, who was running. So Ronna won. It was Zeldin. Mike Lee got 4 votes. I wonder who voted for I'm sorry, Mike Lindell. I'm like looking at all these different names at the same time. Lee Zeldin won 1 vote. Mike Lindell got 4. And Harmeet got 51, and McDaniel, Ronna McDaniel got 111. So I told you guys. I mean, Zeldin didn't really run, but someone did still vote for him. We'll get into it when we get into that segment. All the story, like I said, it's a big story. Also, I want to talk about the Paul Pelosi footage came out. So there was a lot of speculation, a lot of conspiracies going around. So I think most of the conspiracies are obviously wrong. Now you can have your thoughts and opinions, but I thought it was pretty horrifying actually listening to the call and watching the footage, and how terrifying that it must have been in that situation. So I wish they would have just released the footage earlier just to kill some of the speculation. I guess you'll never totally kill speculation, but that's one thing about when you withhold stuff and there's stories. And I can kind of see why there was a particular news story that was pulled from, was it NBC or ABC? They pulled a newscaster and then he wasn't in air, and people were like, why did they punish him like this? And I don't know how much editorial decision making that he probably had over that particular story, but it wasn't an accurate account when you look at the footage, the body cam footage. So yeah, what a terrible situation that he was in. So he's lucky to be alive, and it's a scary situation. So anyway, we'll play some of that, and maybe you guys will still not believe it, but we'll go through it at least on this page. I don't. My sister asked me what I thought because I had seen it. She started to watch it. I was like, I think the conspiracy theories weren't actually accurate. So we'll go through that and what people were saying at the time. And then Project V, and that's, I'm sure you guys probably know what I'm talking about, with James O. And I'm abbreviating because I don't want to get flagged right now. They came out with a video, and I'm not going to play the video, but I'm going to say it's well worth your time to watch. James O said that he had one of the craziest reactions that he's seen with when they show up to confront people. They broke a pretty big story yesterday. I don't know if it was yesterday, it could have been the day before, but I think it's pretty interesting though, kind of what's happened and what happened in the video, because it's making some people question, should we totally take everything at face value when we see with these videos? So anyway, before we jump into everything, Please go to blacktnews.com. You don't have to at this moment. I mean, you could open up a separate browser and Google and look at stuff if you'd like, but go to blacktnews.com, check out different articles that I've written, different videos that I have up. I'll be posting lots of videos from March for Life and Students for Life Summit next week, and we'll be having like segments during the episodes when I show stuff. So, keep your eyes out for that. Check out different merchandise that I have on the show. I mean, on the website as well. Like my black tea mug. I thought I had it around here. You can get black tea merch, get my money, my business merch. You can get denounce white supremacy, defeat Joe Biden, and other stuff. I promise I'll put some more stuff on the website. I do have a button maker. Like I could make any button I wanted to, as long as it was 1.5 inches. So, people do ask about buttons sometimes. I would just have to like restructure my site a bit to accommodate selling them. Let me know in the comments if you want buttons, like political buttons. It just would it would just take some time to tweak. And I do everything myself. I design myself, I cut my videos, I do film I do everything. I write the articles. It's a one-woman show. Sometimes I'll get sisters who help. Like my sister went with me this past weekend to the March for Life, which I was very grateful. But we definitely want to work and keep expanding Black teen news. So Christina doesn't have to do everything alone, but I'm willing to work the grind as long as I have to. I'm trying to show you the picture from me and my sister at the March for Life. So we had a great time, and I do thank everyone who helped me to get there. Speaking of which, if you would like to support blacktnews.com, you can do that at blacktnews.com/donate. Also, guys, I do have my book, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion, that you guys can check out on the site. I heard the craziest thing last night. If you're on Facebook, you know. I posted a video last night, and someone in response said something about the Bible and abortion, and they said like crazy stuff. They're like, oh, the Bible says nothing against abortion. I'm like, actually says this. And I just posted an article that that I wrote in response to dealing with folks like this. So some of you, you're very new to me on YouTube, but I've been on TikTok for like 2 years. So a lot of the conversations regarding a lot of topics I've already had with a lot of different people before. So in preparation, I have an article. So I posted the article. I'm like, you can read this. And then they said, well, in Exodus, a woman who her fetus is there's a monetary value on it, and it doesn't there's no punishment if it's death or something, which I don't understand how people misinterpret that passage. But I'm like, no, I debunked this thing in the article that I linked to. So I just decided to post the article because on YouTube you can actually post now. So I just posted a link to the article, and someone starts going back and forth with me about abortion. And they said, well, just because you believe it has a soul, which I didn't mention anything about a soul in the article, I don't think. But they ended up saying that abortion was a human rights violation equivalent. I mean, they said not women not being able to have an abortion, which they didn't quite use those terms, but they said for women who are forced to, have their baby or something. So, in other words, women if you can't have an abortion, if you don't have access to abortion, it's a human rights violation equivalent to rape. And they had left a couple different comments before, so I had replied to other crazy stuff that they were saying. When I got to that, I was just like, are you serious? Did you mean to type that? Like, and usually like on TikTok or something, someone might say something crazy like that, and you look at the profile and you're like, are you like 13, ages anywhere from 12 to 23? People say some really crazy, wild, dumb things between that age bracket. I don't know if this person wasn't a child. I kind of glance at their profile. I assume maybe they're an adult. I don't know for sure, but um and an older adult. Abortion has just broken the world. And there's so many women who use it to advance their careers, whether it's in Hollywood or I know being a powered lawyer or um, you know, act whether it's Hollywood or singing or I, I don't know, being a dancer or just basic stuff. Women will advance their careers, get an abortion or whatever, and they think that it's progress having access to just not being a mother and controlling that if they don't want to, which there's other ways to control that. But it's really given women such a terrible, terrible sort of mentality and a weakness. Have you ever heard someone talk about someone about welfare and they're just like, but I need it, I need it, I need it. And people get on hard times, and there's some people who really do need a hand up. But then there's some people, it's like, well, we want to find a way that we can help you get off of it. And they just can't imagine a world without it. And if you're like an entrepreneur spirit and you're someone who wants to, really make a name for yourself and be able to be financially independent and help other people with your income that you have, that might seem like, man, that's really sad that people can't see a world beyond needing the government to get by. Like, I mean, have you ever met someone and they can't see like a possibility of any sort of life outside of a, I don't know, really, really dire situation? And that's what it's like with women in abortion, to the point where they would say, if I can't have an abortion, then it's a human rights violation equivalent to rape. And I've never been I've never had that crime committed against me, and praise God for that. But I know other women who have been through situations like that, and to think that something so horrible you'd find the equivalent of just being a mother, that's crazy to me. There's no choice when someone violates you in that way, and like 99% of the time, like women who choose to get abortions, it's through consensual actions. And I something I cannot do and I will not do, and something I encourage every single person who ever has a conversation about this issue, is to never allow women to infantilize themselves and to say things like my body, my choice, and then just play dumb and pretend as if they did not have a choice prior to the baby being conceived. And when someone says that, or like my body, my choice, or no one should be forced to carry, a baby or some, ask the obvious question. Because I find that people are very annoyed when they have to answer. Ask the obvious question. How did the baby get there? And you don't have to call it a baby because that will trigger them and go down a rabbit hole. Say, how did your son or daughter in your womb get there? I do usually just say baby, but I'm trying to save you some time. Ask them, how did your son or daughter, which it's one or the other. It's only two genders, and it's already been determined when it's conceived. So by the time you're about to abort it, it does have a sex, and so we don't know, or maybe you do know by the time you abort it. Who knows? How did they get there? And they'll say, well, consent to pregnancy isn't consent to sex isn't consent to pregnancy, which is so dumb. And it's annoying that it's it's such a huge talking point. Maybe some of you have never heard that before. It's wild. It's very widespread now. And there's such a thing as implied consent, I think. And when you engage in procreation, you would think that I mean, you're at least, consenting to the possible actions. I would think it's implied for sure, but consent really doesn't matter in that regard. Just because you have consent, and I did a TikTok about this the other day, but when you bring consent into something, a lack of consent can make something good into something terrible, like in the event of a sexual assault. If you have sex and it's two consenting adults, especially if you're married. Well, if you're married, I only believe if it's good if you're married, but other people disagree. So we'll just say, for the sake of the argument, two consenting adults, they have sex. That we would say that's a good thing. And if you don't have consent, it becomes a bad thing, terrible thing, crime, human rights violation. But just because two people consent to something bad doesn't automatically make something moral. Like if two teenagers or something, or we'll not say teenagers because people say teenagers can't consent, but we'll say two college kids decide to duke it out and a duel to the death in their dorm. Is that moral suddenly? If someone comes in and stops them, are they not both, I don't know, going to jail or being held for 24 hours in some kind of mental hospital to see how this happened? Like, we wouldn't just be like, no, cool. Don't you understand? They consented to it. If there's two gangs that decided to have a street fight in the middle of your neighborhood, it's not okay just because all the parties consent to it. You'd be like, man, I got to get out of this neighborhood or call the cops. And the cops might be like, nah, bro, we're good. Like, y'all don't want us there, no way. They might be like, nah, we'll wait till it tones down a little bit, calms down. Just because people consent to something doesn't necessarily automatically make it good. So just because an adult conspires with another adult and they're like, well, we're going to take out this child, that doesn't suddenly make it okay, which is exactly what people do when they have an abortion. A woman goes to her doctor and they consent. They do the procedure. The mother consents to the action, and then they perform the abortion on an unwilling participant. They can't will anything really. They're just a developing baby at that point. So when you announce, like, you don't have my consent to live, which many women do nowadays, who are you talking to? Your pregnancy really has like three people involved, your partner, and we know you don't care what maybe you care what they think, but society doesn't care. They don't think they should have a say. They're like, it's in the woman, and the baby can't consent or have an opinion about what you're about to do to it. At least if you ask. So when you say you don't have my consent to live, who are you saying? Who are you telling that for? Why are you saying it out loud? Oh, it's to what, make yourself feel better? It's just you want to do what you want to do. That's what it is. That's what it is. But back to the original sort of point. How did the baby get there? By probably, I mean, most of the time by you doing something that you wanted to do. So again, I'm not going to infantilize women and uphold her choice as something being so sacred, which we do not respect all women's choices, just in general. We don't respect everyone's bodily autonomy, and to the point where it's absolute. I cannot just go decide to choke you out and say, I'm exercising my bodily autonomy. That's not how it works. Or there's particular drugs that women can't take because it'll disform their babies. You can't just say, well, this is my body, my choice. No, they want to protect those babies from harm. You can't go do every hard drug that you want right now. Men have to sign up for the draft. And we've had a voluntary, military for a very long time, but our numbers are down, and, they're sending tanks to Ukraine, I guess. Who knows if they might be calling for one sooner rather than later. Who knows? So the arguments just don't hold up. They really, really don't. So if it just comes down to you you want to do it, and you'll fight people who try to take it from you. Let's have that conversation. But um to liken it to such a terrible thing is crazy. And one video that I recorded that I really loved during the March for Life, and I'll say this and I'll move on. It was a single mother. It was this group of it was a church from like North Carolina. I think they do like sidewalk advocacy and other stuff like that. I found them because I heard choir music all of a sudden, and I tried to pull out my phone and record it. I just wasn't fast enough, but they sounded good. And I just start passing around. They start passing around the mic. I got good footage. I can't wait to show you guys. But when I wrapped up, someone was like, "No," so I got something else to say, and so I turned my phone back on, and it was perfect. Everything was like under a minute, so it was gonna make a great, TikTok short and YouTube short. But she's like, "I'm a single mother, and you can do it. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it." And she ended with, "There's no shame in being a mother. There's no shame in being a mother." And so many women don't understand that. And I can understand it can be scary for people who have it unplanned, for people who have other plans in life and their plans get interrupted. But I another thing, I'd advise everyone to never allow someone you're having a conversation with about abortion to just pretend like we're not talking about a human being. Are they, developing on? Yeah, but we're still talking about a human life. So I'm not going to pretend that women don't have agency, and I'm not going to pretend that abortion doesn't take a life. I'm always going to remember that there's at least 3 people in the situation, and at the very least 2. At the very least. So all these women who are crying and gnashing at their teeth when Roe v. Wade was overturned, and they're scared because they don't know how they're going to function in society without this option. It feels sad to me that women feel that they need this so much. Jennifer, what's the girl who was in Hunger Games? Can't think of her name. I'm pretty sure it was Jennifer. Someone else have to help me out. But she was in the Hunger Games. She was in X-Men. She was talking about how women have less rights now and are unequal, and other people were saying that. I'm like, if we need the ability to kill our children, which men don't have, men can't be like, "I'm going to off the kid so I don't pay child support." They don't do that. They can't do that. If they did do that, it would be very illegal. Very illegal. Just like not paying your child support is illegal. If women don't have this extra right, then they're somehow unequal to men. And if that is the case, then that means that in our inherent sort of nature as women, with this capability that we have, that we're somehow inferior to men inherently. I don't believe that. Like, we're the givers of life, So it just really threw me for a loop. I was really saddened by it, and I really feel like abortion has broken our women. And I wrote an article about the societal harm of abortion. It's on my website, and it lists a ton of different things on there. Not just how women are harmed, not just because like 1 million babies are killed every year, and but also just the mentality that it has created. And you can't tell me we're better off in this world. You just can't. You just can't. Anyway, I did not mean to have that super long intro talking about this particular topic, but thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. It was just really striking and very sad that so many women are chained to this. If you need abortion to be free, you're bound. If you need abortion to be free, you're bound. Anyway, let's move on to the news of the day. News of the day. I do like to start off with, I'm gonna save my meme thing for the end and just jump right into the Breaking news. So Ronna McDaniel has won her fourth term as the RNC chair, which is pretty incredible given the political circumstances. So a lot of we since no, for people who do not know, and just FYI, um, I used to work under Ronna in 2016 when we had the victory in Michigan when Trump won the election and we won Michigan. She was the chair of the Michigan Republican Party, and she did catch Trump's eye because she was like the only chair who pledged her delegate vote to Trump. And her reasoning out loud, and I'm not going to get into like private stuff that I know that shouldn't, be out or anything like that, but was that Trump won the primary in Michigan, so she was being respectful to the voters of the state by pledging her delegate to Trump. And that sounds super fair, and people appreciated that, the grassroots loved it, etc. So, and obviously Trump liked it, and we won. Michigan is a very good, normally run state party. We have a lot of big donors from Michigan. The current chair, who's will be no longer chair, Weiser, he's fundraised on national levels for folks, and his and for the RNC as well. He basically bankrolled, not I won't say basically. He poured a lot of personal money into the party this past cycle. Um, I won't get into all the Michigan drama this past year. We'll be talking for a while. So, um, Michigan is a pretty big player as far as state parties, even though we don't normally win go red for president. So it was a pretty big deal when the RNC thought that we were capable of winning the election, and we had a good team. And I'm just saying that because I was on it. It was a good team as far as political finance, and I was on the comms team. So I had a lot of fun doing my job, and I believed in the mission. I worked hard, and it seemed like election time, like there's all this fun stuff to do, places to go, and you had Trump folks in town. And Don Jr. came to the Detroit office, and I had family members who got to go, and I was too busy. I was too busy making videos to go and do stuff like that. And he did come to the office really quick, but he just had to pop in and leave. So I never had a conversation with Donald Trump Jr. I've sung at Trump rallies, but I never got to talk to him. um I did meet Tiffany Trump, and that was during the re-election. So yeah, that wasn't in 2016. I did not. Everyone else got to do this really cool stuff, and I was just hunkered down working most of the time on the bus tour, etc. But we grinded it out, and we won. So there was speculation of if she was going to stay. She planned to serve again at the Michigan Republican Party, but Trump, wanted her to be chair. So she went on, took that opportunity and went on a national level. Now in 2018, there were some big wins, including when Ron DeSantis won narrowly in Florida. That was a big race. There was, RNC people working, doing that. Believe that was when Rick Scott was up for election. Was that in 2008? I know my sister was on the ground doing stuff for Broward County when there was drama there, but I know she helped with like both races. So there was some key stuff that happened, but Trump was a difficult. People love him, but people do really really hate Trump. So he presented a challenge for a lot of folks electorally, and just in general, when you have someone in leadership who's whether it's Republican or Democrat, and they have full control, they usually lose it. Like Obama lost control. He had all power, as far as, he was a president, House and Senate when he first came in, then and he lost, that sort of power, and it continued to lose a lot of seats throughout his presidency. Um, so people were expecting losses in 2018. And then you had all these retirements because people were prepping for the loss, which probably made it worse. And we lost a lot of seats in California. So there's a lot of local stuff that you have to look at too. But I don't know if it was as bad as it could have been, because we did have big wins. Because I was really complaining about it myself. My sister, who worked at the RNC, I did not work at the RNC. She started like laying into like a little bit more perspective. I'm like, I guess you got a point, because that was the year Kemp beat Stacey Abrams, and you had all this money of the celebrity and stuff pouring into Stacey Abrams really wanting her to win. And then the complaints that people have about Katie Hobbs being the Secretary of State and winning governor, like Kemp was the Secretary of State. So the left had complaints back then like that. So there's a lot that we're dealing with, that, and we did have some good key wins across the country. But did we take the House? And we did we have did the Democrats have huge gains? Yeah, they did. And in 2020, of course, we lost the presidential election, but it wasn't crazy as far as losses across. Like, the Democrats were really expecting to take more victories than they did after Biden won, and that wasn't the case. It was just like the country said no to Trump, or or if you have other theories that they wouldn't let Trump be reelected. But as far as 2022, that was the biggest heartbreaker. So as I said, it's normal that people lose power. Now, Republicans won the House barely, as my sister Sabrina would say. I don't know why she does that. She's like, barely. Yeah, they barely had a victory as far as the House goes. And of course, you lost the Senate. And we expected that we would win the Senate, and people expected it all over. But we had a lot of issues. A lot of issues. So a lot of complaints that I'm seeing, that I've saw about Rana, how the way people are complaining, I'm like, I understand people wanting change, and I'm not saying I wouldn't be against change, but the things people are complaining about, I'm like, I don't know if there'd be much improvement. Like, I don't know. People were complaining about the fees and costs and stuff that of what was being spent, and I'm like, okay, but Harmeet was at $1 million expense herself. She could all have been like, you know what, I'm a lawyer and I do things, but we're not going to take $1 million because we're patriots. People take these big contracts. Now, something I am going to say, like in general across the board, that everyone really needs to pay attention to. A lot of your candidates are being suckered by different consultants who tell you dumb things that don't actually help. And I don't know exactly how the RNC can help with that. But that is something, and I've heard about campaigns, dumb decisions, dumb things that they made, or they invested so much money in TV at this time, because rather than doing get out the vote efforts like crunch time, when TV doesn't matter so much. And reason being, because people do TV stuff, and they'll, there's different people cutting different money with that sort of money in media. So there's some people who've gotten in the game because politics is very, very lucrative, and there's people who get candidates. The candidates will get people who don't understand the landscape of their area, and it's not just new people coming into the game. There's also sometimes repeatedly bad people who don't understand, but they'll team up with these candidates and they'll raise a lot of money because people will get excited. They'll take their high fees, and when things are over, it's everyone else's fault. Now, there's so many fingers to point to, and a lot of people can take their lumps as far as blame, but people aren't willing to receive their lumps. I mentioned this right after the election. I said, you know how success is has many fathers, but failure is an orphan. I said failure is not an orphan, it's a bastard. It has a father. It has many fathers, and mothers, but people don't want to fess up and claim it. So I actually wrote an article. I just need to get it out. Just laying out how people can look at losses locally all the way up to the RNC, but it's not just a one person problem. So yeah, I saw a lot of criticisms I was reading from people online. I'm just like, some of the things, especially with some of the money, which I understand. We'll get to in a second, but and I'm like, she is raising crazy money. Like, if your concern is that she spent like $15,000 here and didn't spend it on Herschel Walker, like that's not why he lost that race, you know. So I'm very curious to break. People really, really, really need to talk to people on the ground to get accurate autopsies about how there was just failure across the board. So I know a lot of people who have talked to Rana and folks, and have given them different perspectives, and I sincerely hope that people take it to heart and just rethink some things. It's great that they can raise crazy money, but if we don't, and it's great that we've made outreaches to, different minorities. We're making gains in the Hispanic community and in the Black community as well. But we really need to get some suburban women and compete with independents. But a lot of that is going to have to do with like good candidate recruitment and stuff. And we complained the other day about how do folks like George Santos get all the way to Congress without looking into their background. So they really need to tweak and work on stuff. But as far as the money, I wanted to talk about this particular thing that came out today. There was a complaint about how much money that was being spent on Rana's apartment in DC. And she does not live in DC. She lives in Michigan. She's from Michigan. It's a normal thing for people to pay for apartments when people live out of state. So and the article's like, oh, it has a pool on top. And I'm like, I don't know the apartment complex she's living in now, but my sister used to live in the same complex with Rana when she first got there. So I think this particular one they're talking about in the article isn't the one that isn't the same place. But I'm like, DC is just it's an expensive place. I complained about it like last week. I'm like, I don't think DC should be expensive because it's just not worth the hype. At least not to me. At least not to me. It would be a terrible place to live. I wouldn't want to live there for anything in the world. I like if you even when I was there with my sister, I'm like, it doesn't make, unless you were like getting a wage from the government, actually doing a government job or something. I don't know why you would live in DC. I don't know why you do it. I don't know why you do it. And we were driving. Side note, we were driving out of DC, and we were going up the road, and I saw a gas station. I was like, take a picture of the gas station because it was like $3.99, and I'm like, that's pretty high. And that was the highest I'd seen gas. It was like it's gone up since I went on my trip, but it was like $3.29 when I left, and then it just kept increasing like crazy. And $3.99 was the highest that I saw. And then we didn't even go like a mile. And then it jumped to like $4.99. I was like, what? I think we're on Connecticut Avenue or something. And I'm like, take a picture. And I was just like, how does gas jump an entire dollar in a mile? But yeah, I went to the store when I was with my sister, and she told me that a lot of people just eat out because if you go to the store and you're living by yourself and you like, it doesn't, it's like the same. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, that's stupid. So I go to the grocery store, and I get a pack of chicken, and the pack of chicken was like 3 pieces, and I could not believe how much I was spending on a pack of chicken for 3 pieces of chicken. It was like this for the 3 pieces of chicken. It was like the same that I could get for like 7 gigantic pieces of chicken here back home. And or maybe it was even more than that. I was just like floored how much it cost for that little pack of chicken. And they're like, that's just DC. I went to Five Guys Burgers and Fries. People joke about how expensive that place is anyway. I'm like, oh my, I could have went out to eat, like for real out to eat. I couldn't believe like how high the prices were in DC. Anyway, it's an expensive place. And and if you have an apartment, like they had a pool up top, and you can't use it all the time because it does get cold in DC. I don't even think we got to use my sister's pool. It wasn't her pool, but apartment's pool. Anyway, I just the way that people blew up the story to criticize it, I'm just like, you just kind of have to understand DC. Like, I'm like, this isn't a particularly big deal. And then people were talking about how much we were spending on spa. That was like in the headline. It was like $17,668.34. I think that's accurate for going to a spa. But it was like since 2017. I'm like, okay, so it's like 5 years, right? 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And I'm like, that doesn't seem great. Like, I don't go to spas. Like, I don't like the feeling of being massaged. I don't like it. And I'm very low maintenance. Maybe I need to be higher maintenance. I don't know, especially because I do media stuff. I'm sure life will change as things evolve. But I'm like, that doesn't seem like a terrible kind of fee or price. So I started asking people who go to the spa, not like a crazy amount, and they're like, no, that's not crazy. So again, like some of the things are, and they listed it as like a media expense or media preparation, and people are like, oh, people don't need to do this. But you know what? The comments that I saw directed toward her were so rude. And because people were saying all that money, and they were saying stuff like it didn't work. So, and I'm sorry if this is too, like, I don't know, womanly of a rant, but it's crazy when you're involved in media and how much people say that stuff doesn't matter, and then how much people attack women's physical appearances. And the number one insult that I get personally directed toward me are about my teeth, particularly my gap. And I'm not insecure about it at all. In some communities and cultures or whatever, it's looked up as a beauty mark. I don't really care if you think I'm not marked with beauty, but I had a good relationship with my parents, and they told me I was beautiful and all that stuff. So I'm not insecure in that sort of way. So it kind of amazed me how much people talk about it. People talk about my teeth more than they talk about my weight. And that kind of seems like obvious, ammunition there. And or my eyebrows. They're kind of weird. One day my brother was like, Spock, you're fat. Anyway, so people who do media constantly, they do get their hair done, they do get their nails done, and their brows and all that stuff. And people can think those are expenses that women shouldn't have or do, or it's not a big deal. But I'm telling you, that's something that people go to like all the time. And to be in front of like people trying to make deals to get big money with people who do that stuff regularly, it's just a different kind of world. It's just a different kind of world. And I'm like, are there other things people have to complain about when she's raising crazy kind of money? So, so I didn't see a ton of people. I mean, people talk about how we need to change up the strategy a bit, but most of the arguments against her I just saw were against expenses. And And there's also talk to be had about some other glaring issues in the Republican Party for the past couple years that I'm not gonna get into today, but I just didn't see anyone really talking about it. So I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned. But I did find it fascinating that Ron DeSantis came out yesterday against Ronna, or said that we needed some new blood. Because especially since it was said that Trump's people were behind Ronna. So I wonder how this is all going to go down and impact the future elections. So yeah, I think the I think the complaints that people were making were silly, I guess. Or not silly. Like I can understand people being concerned about it, but in the grand scheme of things, like if you think that the money that Rana spends on her nails was going to make the difference in Georgia or Arizona, um I don't think so. And keep in mind that like a huge contract expense that she spent out was her competitor. Like they gave him $1 million contract. So if they're going to look at some of these contracts and how money is spent, then people like her competitor would be someone who's not getting, the monies. So anyway, Ronna said we need all of us. We heard you grassroots, we heard Harmy, we heard Mike Lindell, but with us united and all of us going together, the Democrats are going to hear us in 2024 when we take back the White House and the Senate. Someone said numerous committee members came forward to nominate McDaniel, with Kim Borders of Kansas saying, for me, this vote is not about polls or who loves America more or who's going to fight more. It comes down to two questions when it comes to what matters to me. Can I trust you? Can I rely on you? And the answer to those two questions regarding, they got a typo here. It says Ronna McDaniel are yes. So that's T Post Millennial that had the typo. So it got into a pretty ugly fight. But I'm gonna say this: if people are still kind of baffled, when the race kind of first started, and these committee people are elected by different local parties. They have a national committee man and woman, and those are the folks that will decide. And there might be some other folks in there, but those are the folks who decide. And a lot of them, I would say quite a bit, aren't on Twitter, looking at how angry you tweet. This is the most attention they've ever really had, probably, while making this decision. But when Harmeet first came onto the scene, she made an allegation that Rana was like, there was a pay for play situation going on with the people who would vote for her. And then some of the committee people were getting like angry phone calls from folks, like alleging that basically they're selling their vote. And a lot of people did not appreciate that. So if you're wondering how Rana still got 111 votes with all Tucker and uh, Charlie Kirk and all these folks like blatantly against her, the RNC, it is as Mike as Lee Zeldin said, it's a system that really favors incumbents. It just does. A lot of people really just care about RNC for data collection and money, I think. Which I don't know how good their data is right now. In 2016 was really good. They had some issues in other years. I don't know how good. Well, it must have been not great because they anticipated bigger wins than they had. There's a lot of pollsters that I know some really local pollsters seem to have it right. There are other pollsters that on a national level that seem to not do so great. But I think her competitor did tick off some people at first. So I think that's the story. I think that's the story. I think all these people who are accustomed to Rana know her, have a relationship with her as chair, and they argue. People argue like being the chair, the most important job is to fundraise. She's done, record breaking numbers. You really got to convince people to peel away from folks that they're not accustomed to. I mean, to people they're accustomed to, and go to someone different. You really got to make that case, and it really wasn't there with this. I guess, at least not to these folks. I know Twitter says different, Facebook says different. You had Ben Shapiro, all kinds of folks speaking out against Rana, but I told you guys. I told you guys I wouldn't counter out. So yeah, 111 out of 167. I'm kind of concerned about the 4 who voted for Mike Lindell. I know a lot of people really like Mike Lindell, but that was not a serious sort of vote. He makes good pillows, so absolutely go buy a My Pillow. Anyway, let's move on because I do want to talk about Paul Pelosi, and the hour is late. The hour is late. So, on the call with Paul Pelosi, there's all the speculation because they said that they knew each other. And if you're unfamiliar with the story, I don't know how you can be unfamiliar with the story. A crazy person, who apparently is a leftist, hobo, druggy, illegal alien from like Canada, I think, broke into Paul Pelosi's home, wanted to kidnap or have an audience with Nancy Pelosi. She wasn't there, so the Capitol Police wasn't there, which people found curious, but they weren't there because she wasn't there, I guess, and held him captive. So people said that they're in their underwear, and so there's all this speculation going on about drug deal gone wrong and a lover spat, and but listening to the audio and actually watching the footage of the body cam, which I'll try to pull up here now, I don't think that the conspiracy theories were correct. And there was all kind of speculation as stuff was coming out very fast, and I said they should release the body cam footage to just kind of squash the speculation. And I think they still should have did it earlier. I don't see why they didn't. It's not like I don't have any doubt this person is going to be, like prosecuted for attacking Paul Pelosi. But just to squash some of the conspiracy theories, I'm sure people will still have them. But me watching it, I'm like, this is a really scary situation, and I'm glad he lived to tell the tale, though I'm not fond of the Pelosi's in general. But this is a really scary situation. So just warning.
Yeah, definitely don't want all of here. I definitely don't want all of here. Hello. Yeah. Fucking said 2620, right? No, 2640. Oh,
There's going to be some language in here, FYI.
Hi. Hey guys. How you doing?
How are you?
What's going on, man?
Everything's good.
Hi. Drop the hammer.
Nope. Hey.
What is going on right
I'm
now?
not getting an answer on call.
Bro, oh shit.
Calls in the area that you sent an email.
I got him, Michael.
Edward 14 Everton, backup code 3.
at 26
Give me your fucking hand.
units code.
Give me your fucking hand.
40 Broadway for 14 hours.
Tower 14 Edward, send medics code 3 as well.
So yeah, a terribly scary situation. And let's go back and watch or listen to the call. Because some people are like, oh, the call, they said there was his friends. I don't know how this story got blown up into the conspiracies that it got to, honestly.
For
2022.
Oh, I guess I called by mistake. What is this?
18 seconds.
this is San Francisco Police. Do you need help?
Oh, well, there's a gentleman here just waiting for my wife to come back. Nancy Pelosi.
2:23 and
He's just waiting for her to come back, but she's not going to be here for a day, so I guess we'll have to wait.
0.
Okay, do you need police, fire, or medical for anything?
48 seconds.
I don't think so.
0 to 23 and
Okay.
58 seconds.
Is the Capitol Police around?
2 20.
No, this
They
is San
usually
Francisco.
protect my wife. They're usually here at the house protecting my wife.
No,
But
this is
gentleman
San
came in.
Francisco Police.
Friday, October.
I understand.
8, 2022.
Okay, well,
0 to 24
I don't know, what do you
and
think?
18 seconds.
think everything's good. He thinks everything's good. I've got a problem, but he thinks everything's good.
0
Okay. Call us back if you change your mind.
28
No.
seconds.
This gentleman just came into the house, and he wants to wait here for my wife to come home.
0 to
And so,
24 and 48.
anyway, he
Do
told me
you
to put
know?
the phone down.
Do you know who the person is?
No, I don't know who he is. He has this. He's telling me. He's telling me not to. He's telling me not to do anything.
What is your address, sir?
26.
2:25 and 0.
What is your name?
Seconds.
My name is Paul Pelosi.
Friday.
Anyway, this gentleman says that he thinks everything ought to, he told me to put the phone down and just do what he says.
18 seconds.
Okay?
Okay, what's the gentleman's name?
I don't know. What's that?
My name's David.
The name is David.
Okay, and who is David?
25,
I don't know. What's that?
I'm a friend of theirs.
Yeah, he says he's a friend, but as I say, I've never.
But you don't know who he is?
25 and
No, ma'am.
48 seconds.
Okay.
He's telling me I'm being very leading, so I got to stop talking to you, okay?
25 and
Okay.
50
You sure I can stay on the
seconds.
phone with you just to make sure everything's okay?
No, he wants me to get the hell off the phone.
0 to 26
Okay.
and 0 8
Thank you.
seconds.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, so to me it sounds like, he broke in. It's middle of the night, that's why he's probably in his underwear, like where those are shorts or in his pajamas, and had this altercation with this crazy man. Obviously kind of how the call or whatever happened. He was unwell enough that Paul could talk his way a little bit through some things, but not to a point where he was out of danger. So I don't know. It just, to me, it's like every horror movie hostage situation that you could imagine, and having to actually live through that. I mean, he told the 911, my wife is, usually Capitol Police are here, to just kind of tip them off like, I'm an important person. Like, help me. He let them know that he wasn't a friend. The guy said that they were friends, or he didn't say that they weren't friends. He said that he didn't know them. So yeah, it seems obviously the guy who attacked him, beyond the violence being obvious that he was mentally disturbed, he was just mentally disturbed. just period. So there were a ton of different conspiracies, and I know I talked about them at the time, and I'm like, they should just release the footage. And there was a news report that was taken down for reporting, and they had said when the door was open, they didn't react, or they started stepping away from the police. According to the body cam, that's not what happened. His hand was, I don't know how well you guys saw it, but he was holding his hand while he was holding his arm while he had the hammer. So he was captive. He was captive. Now I don't know what all happened until the police got there. People are like, oh, it could still be, drug deal gone wrong. I always thought that seemed a little weird, because I'm just like, I would imagine if he did have a drug dealer, Paul Pelosi would have a high-end drug dealer. So, there's I would bet there's a more secure system in place for people of importance to get drugs. So that didn't, or escorts, to be frank. So people had wild conspiracies. So respectfully, I think we should put this one to bed. It does really seem like what the other later reports and stuff came out, that this was a crazy man who came to attack Nancy Pelosi, and her husband was the victim. So just wanted to share that. And lastly, just very quickly, Project Veritas, I'm glad, I guess I saved this to the end. They released a video. Well, we'll just call them Project V. I already said the name, but they released a video of someone who worked for community organization that starts with a P. And they said that they were mutating the strain of things. And that's what they said, undercover. And so that story blew up a bit. And so O'Keefe had a video where he confronted people. Sometimes they just show up and they do videos to follow up, to confront people. And there was a black guy who was, I guess, gay, and he saw O'Keefe and he flipped out. And it is worth watching. You can go watch it on Twitter, on their page. It's 10 minutes long. It's entertaining. And he flipped out. At one point, he grabbed their iPad to try to, I guess, steal it from them. I don't think they broke it, or tried to, but there was a struggle. He got pushed off. He didn't want them to leave, and he was calling the police. But he did say all the stuff that he was saying was to impress a date. So I guess that some people were pointing out, like, if people are just saying stuff when they go undercover to impress people, well, I guess that calls into question some of the footage that they capture. Now, they do follow up with stuff, and then people print stories about Project Veritas, and then they go after them. They're very good at getting people to post retractions. They actually put it up, frame it and put it up on their walls and stuff. They're very proud, but they can make people have retractions. But I just wanted to point it out because it's really worth watching. It's worth looking at the memes. There's some very good memes. There was a Waffle House one that was pretty good from the reaction. But I just went with this one. Lied suddenly. So that's the guy. That's the guy. But he flipped out. He didn't want them to leave. He called the police. There was one car that he thought was Project Veritas. He ran out and tried to stop them. But yeah, they got kind of physical, but he flipped out. But it's worth watching. But I do want to just put it out there to folks that when these undercover videos come out, and they've broken a lot of good stories, Veritas, and I've met O'Keefe before, actually, in person. But you do want to vet things before you go full on belief in some stuff. So I don't know if the company is doing what was alleged for sure. No surprise, they're not really responding to to O'Keefe, and I don't expect them to unless there's more like questions. And I guess those are things that you can ask your other reporters can look into, and your Congress people to ask those sort of questions, because it was alleged like they were doing gain of function type research there. So he could just be trying to save his job and said he lied and was just trying to impress someone when O'Keefe discovered him. But there could also be some truth to it. So I just want to throw that little nugget in your brain to just consider when you see videos like that. But it's well worth your time. Go watch it. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different videos, articles, etc. Please check out my book. As soon as you go to blacktnews.com, you'll see the landing pages for my book. Of course, God is blatantly against abortion. It's available for pre-order right now. If you want to go ahead and get that. If you're in the Michigan area, I am preaching a church in Rochester Hills tonight at 7 p.m. So I'll just, I don't know if I want to flash it in front of the screen right now. I'll post it on my Facebook. I'll share it. So if you go to the Black T News site, and I'll share the address or whatever. So if you're in Michigan and you like to come hear me preach and you're close, 7 p.m. is when we start. Probably start preaching by like 8 o'clock. So I'm gonna get off and continue working on my sermon. So I'll be ready tonight. So thank you guys for watching, for tuning in, and I guess congrats to Rana, who's now serving again as the fourth term as the RNC chair. There's a lot of interesting moving parts to this stuff. It's really kind of a deep on my end, but I didn't suspect a different outcome. It's been interesting commentary, but I really didn't suspect a different outcome. And I don't think in the long run, like I said, the things they're complaining about, particularly about the money, there's some donors who aren't gonna like it, but I think at the same time, when they look at some of the expenses, like, you spent how much on your nails? Oh, okay. Especially when, I don't know, these folks expect you to present yourself a certain way when you're presenting yourself not only TV but in front of them as well. So you're talking about some crazy stupid money. So I don't have, that, like I said, I'm kind of low maintenance myself. I'm sure that kind of change going forward in some distant future, but I don't even like massages. I'm not that person. I don't like, and I'm not saying that that's what she got done at the spa. I don't know what she got done at the spa. I don't know, but I know that stuff can get expensive, but it's not just rich people who go to the spas. People spent their COVID money on, like, in my neighborhood, someone from my church said that their girl spending their COVID money on getting work done. And I don't know because they started an OnlyFans account or what, but yeah, people wasted that money, just FYI. Anyway, God bless you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Not tomorrow, on Monday.